Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to the Citrix Ready technical webinar with NComputing. My name is Rubal Walia. I'll be your host on the webinar today. Today I'm joined with my friend Rich Severson from NComputing. He's the Senior Director of Solutions Engineering, who will walk you through some of the cool features uh, of the Citrix Ready Workspace Hub and NComputing. I also have with me Nitin Sharma. He's the Product Marketing Manager for Citrix, who will walk you through the software side of the device. A few housekeeping details. There will be a formal Q&A session at the end, but in case you do have questions during the webinar, please feel free to use the questions panel on the GoToWebinar platform, and we'll be sure to answer those questions over chat if possible, or we'll take them at the end of the webinar. This webinar has also been recorded, so we'll send you a copy of the video after the webinar in about 24 hours. Before I hand over the mic to our presenters, I just want to run you through quickly what Citrix Ready is and what is it that we do. Next slide, please. So Citrix Ready is a program where we've sort of created an ecosystem of Citrix compatible partner technologies. So we've envisioned this to be a #1 source for you to evaluate Citrix Ready verified partner products so you can make a quick purchasing decision. There are a couple of URLs being showcased on this slide. So in case you want to see the variety of Citrix compatible products, please do visit our marketplace. In case you're interested to learn some more about the Citrix Ready program, please do visit the URL displayed on this slide as well. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Rich Severson from NComputing. Welcome to the webinar, Rich.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your geography. This is Rich. Thank you for that, Rubal. I'm going to talk about NComputing. We are a thin client manufacturer who's happy to be part of the Citrix Ready program, and we've developed the Raspberry Pi-based device, the RX HDX, to be part of the Workspace Hub initiatives, and we're happy to do that. We have global offices in the US, America, EMEA, Asia Pacific, and we'll have contact information for you later on. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it. Now let me hand over the mic to Nitin. Nitin, you want to quickly introduce yourself? What do you do at Citrix? And I guess the presentation is over to you then.
Thanks, Rubal. My name is Nitin Sharma. I'm a Product Marketing Manager here at Citrix, covering Workspace Services. One of the things I'm going to do is, before I hand it over to Rich, I wanted to go over to how it is that we got here today with the next generation thin client partner with NComputing. I'm going to go into a little bit of the Citrix portion of it. Some of the cool software features, how it is that we're trying to transform, the future of work. So one of the key things is, and Rich will probably go a lot more in detail as far as the actual hardware aspects of it. With the Citrix Ready Workspace Hub, it originally started off as a partnership between Citrix and NComputing on how do we deliver a low-cost endpoint, and we did that with the HDX Pi. But with the HDX Pi, over the past couple of years, even though it delivered a great experience, we wanted to build on top of that and try to see what it is that we can do to improve not only the end user experience, but also, the bottom line of the organization, keeping this device low cost, and try to create a thin client that's unlike any other thin client. So we did that by introducing some groundbreaking features, and I'm going to go into a little bit more details as far as what each one of these are. But most of these are using that existing device, the HDX Pi, transforming it into a Citrix Ready Workspace Hub, and introducing features that improve productivity, improve security, but also create a device that has a lot of capabilities that future-proof your environment. Again, at the end of the day, it's about delivering a device that's high value but low cost. So before I go into everything that we're going to show today is available today. So on face value, the Citrix Ready Workspace Hub is a thin client, but it goes beyond that because it's also a proximity reader. It's also an IoT hub because it's designed to be like an IoT edge device. And it actually can function also as a VoIP phone replacement or a desk phone replacement, which I'll go into a little bit in details. And it's very important that, when we're designing this, we wanted to make sure that we designed something that was also easily managed. And With some of our partnerships with our Zen Mobile team, which is included in the Citrix Ready Workspace Hub program, in development of this device, we wanted to make sure that not only can organizations manage their BYO devices, like the tablets and phones in organizations, but also give them the ability to manage this device from a single console. So let's go into the thin client aspect of this. So, again, it's with our partnership. There's many clients that are, that exist in the industry today, but we wanted to make sure and produce something a little bit different. So we partnered with Stratadesk and NComputing. We wanted, partners that were willing to build a quality device that at a low cost, that was capable of addressing majority of our Citrix customer use cases. But one of the challenges when we initially created the HCX Pi, and customers made it very clear, is while the Raspberry Pi was a great hardware platform, there was a need for dual monitors. So one of the first things that we did was, our engineering wizards came up and figured out a way of daisy chaining a Raspberry Pi Zero to a Workspace Hub. So the way this works is it creates a network link over a USB dongle, then it passes an H.264 stream, which is encapsulated in the HDX stream, to a secondary device or the secondary display adapter. Now, if you're not a Citrix customer, you're not familiar, HDX is a proprietary software protocol that's unique to Citrix. And what it does is, even though these devices have very limited CPUs, we're actually able to deliver a 1080p video on both screens at 60 frames per second, due to the fact that each one of these, the Raspberry Pis has a built-in H.264 decoder. So basically, there's no hit to the CPU, and then we can do that sort of functionality where the same way we can deliver a high-performance virtual app or desktop session on a single Pi, we're actually able to deliver it to both monitors. So going beyond that, let's go into like a little bit of what the software stack is of the Workspace Hub. So when we initially created this, we partnered with a company called Stratadesk. They spent many years building and hardening operating systems based on open source Linux environments for thin clients. From there, our engineers, decided to work with, manage the No Touch Center, but we also wanted to port over Linux receiver. So when we ported over Linux receiver on the Workspace Hub, we went from an x86 to ARM, which wasn't no easy task, but we're actually able to get receiver running. And then from there, we also introduced a Skype optimization pack, which basically allows this to function as a desk phone replacement, which is something I would go into a little bit in more detail later. Citrix casting is probably the most significant feature and the most visible one that we've shown when we demo this device. Citrix casting or screen casting is unique to the Workspace Hub, and no other thin client will actually offer this. Going into it, again, we made sure we try to get this device Azure IoT certified, because the potential capabilities of this in the long run. We didn't want to just give just a device that sits on a desk. We wanted to give a device that actually could potentially fit into a company's IoT strategy. So let's go into Citrix casting. Citrix casting was one of those technologies that we're really excited about developing, because we wanted to provide a way that it can provide a very seamless user experience on how to authenticate into a Citrix session. So without, I know the limitations of the webinar, I wanted to create a way to be able to visually show you this. So we created like this little slide to show an example of, let's say I'm walking up to my workstation. So if I have my session or my Citrix session on my phone launch, I'm going through a presentation, and I want to go ahead and I'm just kind of checking, make some last minute tweaks before I sit down at my desk. I walk up to the desk and it detects that I'm up to a workspace. The Workspace Hub detects that I'm near it. Once it detects that I'm near the session, I can go ahead and just swipe my session or scan the QR code that's there, and my session actually will roam over to the workstation. No need for me to log in, no control alt deletes, no cumbersome login process or me to remember my passwords. I've already authenticated through my phone and just makes me smooth run my session over to this device. Once I'm done, if I'm going to lunch, or if I'm going to walk away from my desk, in a proximity scenario, if it shows that I move the phone away from me, it'll actually, because it shows it's no longer there, it'll actually kill the session, or I can actually manually take my session away from this device onto my mobile phone and then, carry on throughout the day. So there's two types of casting when we are talking about Citrix casting. In the example earlier, I was talking about session roaming. In the session roaming scenario, the Workspace Hub actually hosts the session. The tablet or phone is the one that sends the authentication token over to the device. Now, there's two ways of authenticating into the Workspace Hub. It could either be triggered by an iBeacon or BLE or a QR code. With the session roaming, there is dual monitor support and Skype for Business integration. When you're doing screencasting is very similar to what you would look at as Chromecasting. Basically, the workspace, the tablet maintains the session or mobile device. So it's only sending over the video stream. The user can interact with the tablet or mobile phone because it does function as a trackpad, so you can move your mouse around. These are pretty good in the scenarios of like if you are in a conference room and there's a Workspace Hub situated in that conference room, and you just want to be able to show a presentation or a couple slides without necessarily moving your entire session over. Because of the fact that the hub is not hosting an actual Citrix session, there's no dual monitor support or real-time or Skype integration right now. But with casting, again, it's not a new term. Many people are familiar with it with Chromecast and Apple TV. The devices generally take something from your phone and show it on a larger screen. I've used it to show pictures of my dog and my parents. The technology is simple, it's great, but it doesn't really fit the bill for a full desktop experience. There is the Samsung DeX. Now, again, that was something that does give a full desktop experience, but the issue with the DeX is that the fact that it's wired, it's single screen, and it only works with that one device. Now, with the Workspace Hub, we wanted to, give the ability for it to integrate with, we wanted to make it wireless, but we also wanted to make sure to integrate with multiple levels of peripherals that you do see in an enterprise environment, but we also wanted to provide a full desktop experience. Currently today, it works on Android, and we do have on the roadmap for Citrix casting to be enabled on Windows, OS X 10, and iOS devices in the latter part of this year. But the key thing is it's high value, it's awesome. But I wanted to go into what are the industries that are going to see the most, that we've already had conversations on that are the most interested in the Workspace Hub. So, those of you who work in healthcare, familiar with tap and go technology. Technology allows employees to use their badge to tap in an RFID. They can log into a device. This technology is it's decades old, relies on readers, badges, and software to make it work. The problem with this is the fact that there's a potential employees to misplace their devices or forget that they even have their ID card with them. But with a phone, most of the folks on this webinar will probably know when they don't have the phone with them. Something that you probably check, it's in your pocket. You know where it is at all times, and if it does go missing, you're most likely to be aware of it going missing before you would be aware of knowing when an RFID card went missing. And then the other aspect of that the phone is actually pretty secure. You can authenticate through a phone with fingerprint, facial recognition, PIN, all that are specific to that user and that they remember. So our goal is to try to leverage that phone in authentication methods through Citrix casting. But let's just, going into the healthcare example, this is a typical workflow that, I wanted to present. And, we've shown this to a couple of healthcare customers. And I know it's arguable some of the time that it takes to, this current workflow with a doctor seeing a patient. The times can be a little bit arguable, but we kind of did a rough estimate. So, the doctor approaches the workstation, takes them about a minute to launch it, authenticate with a badge. It could take them about 60 seconds to launch the desktop. It could take them another 10 seconds to go into the specific EMR. They have to search for the patient record, and then they have to load the patient record, and then they can see their patient. So with the Workspace Hub, we wanted to find a way that how we can reduce that time and how we can remove some of these tasks. That goes into the ideal workflow, and this is some of the future capabilities that we can look into what the Workspace Hub is capable of. Today, you can authenticate it. A doctor can authenticate it with his phone and be able to go smoother on the session. But in the future, we wanted to be able to change the way they work by, where they can just trigger a beacon when they walk into a patient room. Once, the phone is authenticated to Citrix, it launches a desktop session. Citrix launches the EMR, and it sort of does some sort of cross-reference the fact that, using session pre-launch, you'll launch the session, but we could use some intelligence. We know the doctor's in exam room X, and they can trigger beacon X. We know that patient, if they're in room X, and that's the EMR for them, we can possibly do some cross-reference where that patient record will automatically launch for that patient once that doctor walks into that room. So our goal is to basically remove the time it takes that the doctor spends doing these types of administrative tasks where they're trying to launch into the session, but just get their patient record right when they log in, and then be able to provide updates to that patient. And then as soon as he's done with the session, he can walk out of the patient room and his session goes with him. So going beyond that, goes into how we want to future-proof it. So we have worked with Azure, Microsoft to enable this to be Azure IoT certified. What this does is it may not necessarily be what a lot of organizations may not necessarily be looking at an IoT strategy just yet, but we wanted to make sure that this device was prepared and ready to do that. And that's with developers in-house. You can develop Azure-based logic apps to do things like monitoring systems that are running through the Workspace Hub, or attaching camera sensors, or triggering specific applications, or controlling lights. These are some of the things that we wanted to make sure that the hub goes beyond just a thin client, has the capabilities of becoming an IoT edge device. Last but not least, I wanted to go into the Skype for Business integration of the Workspace Hub. Now, this is, the features of Workspace Hub, we wanted to make sure is optimized for business. It's an enterprise-grade device. We wanted to see if there's a way that we can help organizations reduce hardware costs by removing traditional office phones. So the way this works now, and this is something that, going into a little bit of technical details, each one of the Workspace Hubs actually has integrated real-time media engine running on the endpoint. So this makes the solution WAN friendly, allows it to scale for deployments and LAN environments. With the real-time media engine running on the endpoint, the device routes audio and video directly between the clients over UDP and RDP, which is specific a Citrix protocol, and actually bypasses TCP-based VDI protocols entirely. So in a traditional scenario where you have what's called hairpinning, some users can get what's called an echo in a virtual environment. With each one of the endpoints actually doing the built-in real-time media engine, the audio and video compression and decompression are actually happening on the endpoint and not the Citrix servers. Thereby, improving audio quality, but also significantly increasing the scalability of VDI environments. It's important to know that this is limited to 2.4 and later. So if you're on 2.3, the HDX real-time media engine is actually on 2.4. So last but not least, we talk about all the cool software features of it, the capabilities of Workspace Hub. But as I was mentioning earlier, when you have with Zen Mobile integration, unified endpoint management, we actually are giving organizations the ability to manage these Workspace Hubs in a single console with their other BYO devices that would be running Zen Mobile. And this is a good slide that kind of shows like what we're trying to look at, what we're aiming at. A traditional desktop setup, with a Workspace Hub, you can actually replace all of these devices and run a dual monitor and looking at saving a significant amount of money on hardware costs. And with that, I could hand it over to Rich.
Hello, thank you. And so I'm going to talk about why NComputing and NComputing for the Citrix Ready Enterprise program. And the reason that NComputing got involved with this is obviously NComputing being a thin client focused manufacturer gives us the ability to focus specifically on designing hardware for the Workspace Hub. So our devices are targeted and designed specifically for the HDX protocol, for the graphics, the video, and being a thin client manufacturer, we've taken the lessons that we've learned and we've made the Pi platform and enterprise ready, making sure that it's secure, it's tamper-proof. We've been able to provide all the certifications that you would expect to be able to take this type of platform and deliver it around the globe as a true enterprise platform. So by doing this, we're able to provide the best return of investment, so we can provide the enterprise manageability, the hardware capabilities, and experience behind NComputing to deliver this around the world. And we got to get the slides to change. There we go. So some of the competitive advantages for NComputing is the fact that the device was designed specifically for HDX. We have the ability to do the dual display capabilities. We have the power buttons built into the device, so you can actually control the power of the device, with power on, power off. And again, we've taken the time to focus and deliver this around the HDX protocol for the H.264 to be able to deliver the RTME pieces, the Skype for Business pieces, and the enterprise manageabilities that you would expect. It is a full function thin client, so it will perform and act as a thin client. It will also provide the performance of the Workspace Hub, for the things like the QR code scanning, the beaconing where you can cast your session and roam your session. Again, it's secured. It is dual display capability. We have Visa mount capabilities. The software is designed specifically for managing these devices and specifically for HDX. It's a true enterprise capable thin client Workspace Hub device. As I mentioned, it is available worldwide. We have FCC certifications, UL, CE certifications, so that we can deliver this around the world. Slides are transitioning a little bit slow. So the features of the device, obviously, it is based on the Pi platform. So it does have HDMI. It is capable of 1920 by 1080 display. As mentioned, when we're doing the dual display, we use what's called USB on the go. So we connect a primary USB over to a micro USB to provide the power and data for the H.264 data stream over to the secondary display. So it's literally two separate devices. It's based on the Pi 3 platform for the primary thin client or Workspace Hub, and then what we call the SDA or the secondary display adapter is based on the Pi 0, so that we can provide that great display performance. Okay, everything that you need to be able to do the dual display is included in the dual display or the SDA adapter, so you can get the Workspace Hub thin client as a primary device and then get the secondary display and be able to provide dual display for that platform. So the RX HDX or the Workspace Hub is generally available today. We've actually been shipping the product since early 2018. The secondary display adapter is the same size as far as form factor as the primary thin client device. Again, they do both have full-size HDMI output, and they're ready to go and capable of delivering dual display Workspace Hub functionality today. The NComputing RX HDX is designed to be the next generation thin client. Like I said, the fact that it can be a thin client as well as the Workspace Hub. It's merely just a matter of using the enterprise software with the ability to change or toggle the connection type from either PN agent storefront capabilities or into Workspace Hub, where you can deliver those capabilities for the casting and the roaming to the device. And if you want to, again, to use it as a traditional thin client, you can do that with the enterprise management software. I think so. The key points about this, again, it is the Workspace Hub. It is available today. It is focused specifically on the HJX protocol, so we don't have to worry about regression testing. We can deliver the capabilities today, including the RTME, dual display, and IoT capabilities with casting and roaming with the devices, as you might expect for the Workspace Hub. Okay, and I believe that's everything from me.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it, and thank you, Nathan. Are there any use case examples that you'd like to showcase?
Nope. I think I'll cover this one. So this was basically some of the Citrix main use cases that the customers that have communicated us when we showed them this device. Again, because of the fact that on face value, it is a thin client today, you know, a lot of customers have leveraged this for potential thin client refreshes, but going into it, improving security and user access. So this is more for, like, you know, we're now approaching the enterprises where, you know, users need to authenticate into, because they're always dealing with some kind of sensitive information. So the actual username, password, login process is now, you know, across any industry. It's not just limited to financial services or healthcare. So all of this is about leveraging and giving customers the ability to have their employees leverage what the devices that they use all the time anyway, which is a mobile device, authenticate through that, and being able to get them into their Citrix session. And then it goes into, again, as Rich was mentioning, I was saying earlier, we wanted to make sure that we made the IT lives easier. We wanted to give them the ability to manage these devices from a single management console with Zen Mobile. So, you know, again, there's not only is the enterprise facing a large number of applications that are coming in that they need to provide for their user to be productive, you know, they're all working on various devices too. The average user probably uses, you know, 3 or 4 devices. So IT wants to be able to control that. But while they're controlling that, why not be able to control the endpoint devices that are actually sitting on the user's desk? And then it goes into, you know, the future proofing of the device, the IoT edge capabilities. You know, like this kit has the capabilities of a Workspace Hub can sit in a meeting room. And then if you're coming in and you have a meeting, and if there's a specific, you know, as soon as the user authenticates, if it reads their profile, and you know, may dim the lights, or you can trigger the Workspace Hub to call, you know, an online meeting platform to be able to automatically dial in, and so you're removing the various times it takes for a user to log into, you know, an actual conference room meeting once it could all be automated. And then going into, I think this was Rich. I think you were covering this one.
I'm sorry, Nitin, the slides haven't transitioned, so it's so. Real quick, so as far as the POCs and the capabilities for being able to do some testing with the NComputing HDX devices for Workspace Hub, obviously there's in here are the links to be able to get the information, how to get to the NComputing management portal. You know, obviously you can go through our global partners or through our global offices to go ahead and get the devices. Again, they are readily available today. Through our management portal at ncomputing.com, you can get the firmware updates and the no-touch management center, as well as under our support section, there is the knowledge base where you can get all the information regarding getting started. We like to call it the success to getting started, if you will. There's a link there that will walk you through how to get the management software, how to get the firmware updates, how to get the OVA get up and started, how to get connected, including all the information regarding configuring the dual display and all those types of things. So again, it's key to note that, you know, this is our focus. This is what NComputing does. So everything that we do and everything you're going to find regarding the NComputing is about making you successful with the NComputing Workspace Hub.
Oops.
Yep.
Yeah, I skipped through that. Let's go to the promo. You can give all these guys on the call the ability to get this at a discount.
Yeah, so this is the promo that we were running at Synergy just last month. So with this information on the slide, you can go ahead and you can get up to 5 devices using this promotion code. Obviously, the QR code's there. You can go ahead and scan the QR code, or again, you can go to our website. And so you have the ability to get up to 5 devices for and through June 30th as part of this promotion for the devices. Okay.
Thank you. So we covered a lot of information here. So like we talked about what it was, all the things that you get out of it. So, how do I get this as a customer? So for existing customers, the Workspace Hub features, the Skype for Business optimization, dual display, device management, all of that's actually a part of the standard XenApp in the desktop. But for Citrix casting, you would actually need to, those are actually more for our XenApp in the desktop platinum customers, as well as Workspace Premium. But if you're just going to use it as a thin client and you want to you leverage it for dual display or desk phone replacement, pretty much all of Zen desktop customers or Citrix customers have the capability of doing that. It's when you want to go beyond that, if you want to leverage it from the ability to improve workflow through Citrix casting, that's Platinum and Premium, and then Unified Endpoint Management is also part of our Platinum suite. Now, I do know that there's a lot of information that we did cover. We do have all of this in one single FAQ. The actual website's right down there. And then there's also, we'll link you to how to be able to purchase this and also like how to deploy this specific, because we have actual reference architectures and install guides available right down there. And I will see if we have any questions.
Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, let's move on to Q&A. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have any more questions, now's the time to ask. I have a few coming in, so I'll dig right into. So I guess this one's for you, Rich. Many people are asking, where can I purchase the SDA adapter in the US?
The SDA from in the US and globally is available through our distribution and partner network. I don't have the part number off the top of my head, but the device is readily available through our partners and distributors in the US and globally.
Got it. Nathan, this one's for you. A lot of people are asking about the Apple device compatibility. Although you show it on the screen, there's a question that right now the compatibility is only on Android. When can they expect to see it on iOS?
So that's something that we have in development. I think the last thing I saw was we're looking at aiming at around the Q4 timeframe, but it may come out earlier.
Got it. Rich, this one's for you. Will older models of NComputing device work? The secondary question here is this backward compatible? And the example the gentleman has given is L300.
So the L300 is actually for a separate platform. It is not based on the Citrix HDX protocol. So everything that we're talking about here with the capabilities of the Workspace Hub and the Thin Client Ready program for Citrix is based on the HDX. So it would be the RX HDX platform.
Got it. And what is the proximity range, and can it be set to a particular range?
So the proximity range using the Bluetooth beaconing, it by default is, I believe it's 3 meters, and it can be adjusted. It is adjusted via the settings under the receiver that's on the phone. And as you might imagine, like when we do shows and those types of things, we adjust the beacon pretty small down so that we're not interfering with each other. And obviously you wouldn't want to adjust it too large such that if a doctor was walking through a corridor, he wouldn't be transitioning sessions from room to room as he was walking. So again, you have the ability to adjust that beaconing range with the receiver that's on the phone.
Got it. Thank you. Nathan, this one's for you. Can you please comment on any additional roadmap developments on this?
The only thing I could really comment is the fact that we are working on support for, as I was mentioning earlier, the iOS platform, the Windows platform, OS X 10. There are some things that we are looking into on further capabilities with Citrix Analytics, but that is a little bit further out. Usually I like to talk about what's going on for this year. So this year, it's just actually making sure that we're getting support on the rest of the platforms.
Got it. And is printing supported? If yes, how?
I guess this is Rich. I'll go ahead and take that one. So yes, printing is supported. Again, it is based on the Citrix receiver. So just depending on the Citrix policies and the policies that you use for the enterprise management software of how you configure the device will determine how that printing is supported. But yes, local printing and network printing is supported as you might expect with the receiver.
Awesome. And how many USB outputs are there?
So the HDX device has 4 USB ports, obviously keyboard and mouse, and then if you're using the SDA, but if you need additional USB ports, we recommend people test and utilize USB keyboards that actually have a USB hub built into the keyboard. That way you can extend the capabilities of the USB.
Got it. Anticipated lifespan of the device, Rich?
It is a Pi 3 with 0 moving parts, so the actual calculated MTBE or mean time between failure, I don't know what that is right now, but obviously, again, with no moving parts and it being a solid state device, I think it would be, the life expectations would be any that you'd have for a solid state device.
Okay. I think this is an interesting one. Maybe Rich, you can begin and Nitin can add on. How is the Workspace Hub hardware different than a thin client?
The hardware itself is not different than a traditional thin client, with the exception of the fact that, of course, this is the receiver and the receiver based for the ARM platform. But the hardware, what we've done, again, going back to thin client being NComputing being a thin client manufacturer, we have optimized the hardware to take advantage of the capabilities of the receiver. And that's where the software comes in to make the differences and gives you the capabilities of the Workspace Hub features, the IoT features, and those kinds of things. It's kind of taking a standard hardware platform being based on the Pi 3 platform, and then our experiences being a thin client manufacturer, and then optimizing that for the enterprise and the capability to take advantage of the capabilities of the receiver and the Citrix infrastructure.
Great. Nitin, anything to add there?
Rich hit it pretty much on the head there, but I think one of the key things is that the Citrix casting is specific to this device, so no other like thin client right now is going to be able to is going to do Citrix casting.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that, having all these features, the casting, et cetera, as well as being a traditional thin client, and based on the Pi platform, because of that, we're able to deliver a full functioning thin client and Workspace Hub at about a third of the cost of traditional thin clients.
Got it. And Rich, this one's for you. Is the Stratodesk management free and included with the purchase of the device?
So the way that works, because we have an OEM relationship with Stratodesk, the first year purchase of the Stratodesk Enterprise or no-touch enterprise management software is included with the purchase of the device. It is a perpetual license, so the product will continue working beyond year one. If you would like to get firmware and no-touch center management updates after year one, there is a subscription fee for that, but year one is included.
Got it. Cost range comparison between iGel and Wise?
Again, because they have so many different varying platforms, I wouldn't want to necessarily go into cost, but overall, again, given the fact that this is based on the platform that it is, we find that about a third of the cost of most thin clients.
Okay. Quite a lot of questions around availability outside of the US. There's one for Brazil, India, Europe. Any comments on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll see this in just a few minutes. We actually have a contact slide. I think it's a couple slides down that does have the sales contacts for our global offices. And again, we do have a global sales and partner and distribution network. So you'll be able to get these devices virtually anywhere in the world. So, and like I said, you'll have their sales contact information in just a couple slides. There it is right there. So those are the VP of sales for all of our different regions for EMEA, Americas, and APAC. And then, like I said, we have distributors around the world.
Got it. So there's a question from a gentleman who says, I have a couple of NComputing devices for a POC. Who could I contact to get some configuration setting help? I'm assuming people from on the slide.
Absolutely. Well, certainly, again, I'm the presenter, Rich Severson. My contact information is there. I'm the Senior Director of Solutions Engineering. So worst case scenario, you can always contact me. We do have a global support center at ncomputing.com, as well as, like I said, we do have offices. So depending on where your geography is, it might be better to contact your regional person, but certainly my information is there and I can certainly forward it to the correct person.
Great, thank you. Another one, how to manage and update. Is there a console for administration for this?
So yeah, this goes back to our OEM relationship with Stratodesk for the No Touch Center. It is a true enterprise management capability. I would recommend that you look at our KBs or our knowledge base site at NComputing Support and get the getting started information, because it's literally, it will take you probably about 5 minutes of prep setup to do it correctly, or 10 minutes of prep setup to download the OVA file, get the device set up a quick DNS record entry, and then the devices, if you want, you can truly create a policy to make the devices hands-off deployment, where they will automatically, they can connect to your network, they can automatically assign themselves to a group, automatically profile and policy to get the connection information, configure it for Workspace Hub example, connect to the Citrix environment and be ready to go, truly enterprise-wide.
Got it. Another one, how long do you plan to support this version of hardware? If there is a newer version next year, will this be retired immediately, or will you support it for the next 5 years, for example?
No, this platform will continue to be supported. We do often get asked about the quote unquote, if you will, the Pi 3 Plus platform. We do have a relationship with the Pi Foundation, and we are investigating and looking at potentially using the Pi 3 Plus platform later on. But this platform is certified. We do have knowledge and testing that this is fully capable. There are no substantial bugs in the hardware. Therefore, this platform will continue to be supported for the time being and in the future. And we may look at other platforms in the future.
Got it. A follow-up question to the Stratodesk management. What would be the cost of no touch subscription after year 1? Do you know that?
I don't know that, and given the fact that this is a global audience, I would say please contact the regional VP of sales or your partner distributor, because obviously depending on your geography, it could vary in price. But it is a low cost and nominal fee.
Got it. Will it support more than 2 monitors in the near future? Any plans there?
That is certainly one of the things that we have been ongoing discussions with the Citrix engineering team. Obviously, we are using USB and USB on the go for the capabilities, and certainly we are, if you will, daisy chaining the secondary display adapter onto the primary device. It is something that is being talked about. There's no roadmap plan for that today, but that doesn't mean that it won't happen in the future.
Got it.
Thanks for taking that one, Rich.
Yeah, again, there's nothing planned immediately, but certainly it may have the capabilities of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Got it. I guess that's all the questions we have for now. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any more questions, please feel free to email them to us at citrixready@citrix.com. I guess this brings us to the end of the session. Let me give you any last words. Rich, anything from you?
No, thank you. I mean, obviously, we're a proud hardware vendor of the Citrix Ready program, and we're pleased to be able to deliver such a low-cost, high-performance device to the Workspace Hub platform. So, thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Nathan, anything from you?
Nope. I just wanted to thank everybody for joining the webinar, hearing more about the Workspace Hub. It's really exciting. It's been one of the things that I've seen in development for the past couple of years behind the scenes. And you can just stay tuned to Citrix blogs to get any updates to our products in general, but also potential future updates for the Citrix Workspace Hub. They'll be presented right there too as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks again, Rich, for a wonderful presentation. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking out the time to staying through our webinar. Thank you. This concludes our presentation. Have a good day.
Thank you.